Hi, I'm Prince Ricker for In-Tune Music and Sound, and this is the American-made version of the Fender Dimension bass. Okay, our previous product demo about the Dimension bass was the foreign-made one. It had I believe, an alder body and a red metallic finish with black pickguard, thin rosewood fingerboard, jazz taper neck, the usual accoutrement on a Fender bass, but it had that tricky little humbucker pickup in the bridge like this one. But whereas the import version has a tone knob with different settings that you can turn and automatically change the tone for you, this bass has bass, mid, and treble on it. This one also, being American one, has the sort of white finish maple neck with the maple fingerboard, still the open gear tuners, but the American-made hardware with the Fender logo F on it on the back. It's got basically the same badass bridge that was on the other bass. This one has a transparent finish ash body and the humbucker pickup in the bridge, but whereas the other one had rails or bars, magnet bars, this one has broken the bars up to where you have two over each string. So you have two little pole pieces per string, one for the front coil and one for the back. Slightly variant. Basically it's the same thing. It's a little bit closer to the original Music Man pickup, which had big round magnets like that. Well, these are longer and thinner and a bit broader. And it's a barky sounding bass. It's still there again, a Music Man tone. It's got good mids, plenty of cutting high end. It sounds good up high, and then you still got your good low end. Now, if I start goosing it, the first knob, let me see how the first knob is treble here, then you have mid, then you have bass. Some companies switch that, and it doesn't really matter as long as you remember what you're doing. So if you goose the treble, it has quite a bit of treble extension, almost crispy, glassy, bright. You probably would never use it that high endy, but it's good that you have that much headroom. So that's a good thing. I'm back it off to the center detent right here. So you can always find the middle in a gig. If you can't even see your bass because it's so dark, you can tell where your settings are just by feel for the most part. That's a good thing. The next knob going toward the back of the body is your mid knob. Now, Music Mans are known for already having a lot of mids to them. They're pretty burpy. Well, I can goose that. So that's even more MIDI, or I can cut it. And then if you cut it, that sort of enhances the bass and the treble a little bit more without having to mess with the bass and treble. See, it gets a little darker and a little more scoop sounding. It's good for jazz type tone and not quite so woolly. And then if once again it has a center detent. The last knob is the bass knob. I've got it right in the middle now. And granted, we're playing through a guitar amp, but it still has plenty of good low end. Now, if I goose it, you can tell it's got a lot of good low end extension. You know, it's just in the right spot. So it's not too fat and tubby that the low end just becomes hummy and resonant, but it's not so thin that you don't feel any depth to it. So it sounds really good. This is the center detent position, and then if I back off the bass, it sounds like a jazz bass single pickup version. Now, you would probably never use it with a bass totally rolled off. These basses can sound kind of thin when you do that. So generally, I'd start from the middle and tweak a few degrees left or right, depending on how boomy this stage is, or that kind of thing.
I can speak to it, it'd be great. Or her.
Hello. So there's the tone complement right there, bass, mid, and treble. And it's boost or cut. And then of course you have your volume knob. It's a really handsome bass. It's got an interesting shaped pick guard. It doesn't cover up areas you're probably not going to do the most wear on. If you slap a lot, you're going to drag your fingers and hit your knuckles here, so that's a great place to have it. Other than that, if you play with your fingers, you're going to be over the pickup right here. Now you can play further north, which is fine, but this is generally a really comfortable spot. Most of us who play bass try to find that one sweet spot where we can rest our hand, play, and we don't have to move our hands a lot. Well, that's the design idea behind having a big pickup right here. If it's close to the bridge, it's going to be thinner. So if you have a humbucker, it's going to make it sound fatter overall. And it's right in the sweet spot where your string tension is really good. And you can hop across strings and play really easily. If you play north of the pickup, the strings get more rubbery and you really have to watch what you're doing. If you play too far back, it's real bright and burpy and tight and quick, but you lose the tone. So they put the pickup right where the sweet spot is, and there it is. It's once again got the really solid bridge back here with lots of room for intonation, and the simple control cavity back here. This is where your battery is taken. Most modern circuits hardly drain the battery at all, so you shouldn't have to change the battery, I should say, for 6 months or more, depending. I play all the time. I'm gone a lot playing, so I go through batteries a little bit faster, but I've probably changed batteries once in the last 9 months. It's got a 5-bolt neck joint here. You can see the Fender logo. I believe it says Corona, California. This is a great system. The plate follows the contours of the bass where the body and the neck meet. Aesthetically, it's pleasing because it follows that curve, but it also allows you to get up higher more comfortably, which is really cool. And with the 5 bolts that are in the offset neck pattern, you're not going to move this neck. Your bass is not going to shift and go out of tune neck-wise. So all in all, as you can see, this one is a stunningly gorgeous bass. Beautiful wood grain, all American hardware, solid bridge, really interesting pickup combination. You know, you just have bass, mid, and treble on this one, whereas the other one, the foreign-made version, gives you that toggle switch that does basically the same thing. It's a really solid, well-built bass. This one, believe it or not, though ash tends to be heavier than alder as a body wood, is lighter than the other bass. You could wear this for 4 hours a night at a gig and not have any shoulder strain. That's a great thing. Comfort is important. Boat anchors are fun for boat anchors. They're not fun to wear on your shoulder. So, one thing I left out, on both basses, they now use what I call a Tinker Toy truss rod adjuster, and what it is a disc with a bunch of little circular slots in it, and you could take an Allen wrench or anything like that that fits in that hole and adjust your neck on the fly. You're not going to strip out a truss rod head, which is normally an Allen head, and those get stripped, and when they do, the neck goes back to the shop and they have to pull the truss rod, and you don't want to go through that hassle. This is almost idiot proof. That way you can stick pretty much anything in there, usually an Allen wrench or something, and you can adjust it, to raise it, and it's really easy to get to. You don't have to have any cutouts or any of that kind of stuff and fit the slot in there. Overall, it's a really solid bass. It's super comfortable. It's got that single humbucker and the bridge tone, and it's a worthy addition to Fender's stable of great basses.